Prisons of Egypt are full of the innocent. From the head of state, the first freely elected president of Egypt, Dr. Mohammed Morsi, the first freely elected leader of Egypt, Dr. Mohammed Morsi, remains in prison in solitary confinement, where his health is threatened, his family is unable to see him, where members of parliament remain in prison and have died, where recently the former head of the Muslim Brotherhood was left to die and not given adequate medical care. The young of Egypt, journalists, students of all different political affiliations are thrown into Egypt's prison and tortured. Women are in Egypt's prison and have suffered throughout the 4 years as well. The military regime of Egypt does not want to spare anyone who speaks out against the military regime or wants freedom and justice for that country. Egypt's military regime is one of the worst that Egypt has faced. Egypt has suffered dictatorship for 60 years, but this is one of the vilest regimes ever. And as we hold this press conference today, we have heard from participants a catalogue of abuses that are shameful in terms of what it says about the international community and democratic governments who have supported this regime. We will continue to speak out, but that is not enough. We will continue to call for the end of the military regime, and the people of Egypt are going to carry on to ensure that they bring down this regime. But for now, we are the voice of the voiceless. We will carry their voice and we will respond to every crime that this regime carries out by making sure that the world knows about it. We thank the human rights organizations who have spoken out and who diligently work to ensure that the crimes are reported and catalogued. We will ensure that the pressure continues and that these crimes do not go unheard. But again, I repeat my call to all Egyptians in democratic societies, to Egyptian communities and individuals abroad, whether in the United Kingdom or in any other European state or in the United States. Torture is a crime that comes under universal jurisdiction. You can seek legal support and ensure that these criminals are held to account in any country in the world. We will follow them and pursue them internationally. That is the least we can do until they are held accountable for the crimes they have committed against our people in Egypt. I repeat that as citizens of the United Kingdom, many of us here know that the United Kingdom and the government of Prime Minister Theresa May is, as one of the biggest investors in Egypt, has not done anything to ensure that the rights and violations that are being carried out in Egypt are stopped. Even if there is some pressure occasionally put in private meetings, clearly it has had no effect. The UK government and other democratic governments are obliged in terms of the Charter of the United Nations and international conventions to ensure that the crime of torture that is occurring in Egypt under the military regime is stopped. The fall of this regime will come. It will come from within Egypt. But all we ask of the international community is fair play. This is in their interests, in the interests of populations throughout the world, so that one day the Egyptian people can turn round to citizens throughout Europe and the United States and say that at least in democracies there were citizens who stood by us. And I know we have friends in these countries. We wish that these friends speak out, whether in civil society, among parliamentarians, or even policymakers and academics, to speak out against the injustice that is occurring in Egypt under the military regime. Torture is one crime committed by this regime. There are many other crimes. They are systematic, and they take away from Egyptian citizens the right of freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, but above all else, they take away from the Egyptian citizen the right to life. Thank you very much. Thank you for our panelists, and thank you.